Well, thank you for coming here today. This is a press conference on behalf of Jami Floyd, an award-winning top journalist and attorney. Why is that so important that I'm emphasizing that? When you're in a newsroom and you hear wrong, you're not only looking at it through the prism of a top journalist, you're looking at it through the prism of the law. When things go wrong, you don't have to guess. You don't have to ask another expert. You are the expert that should be respected in the newsroom when you say, maybe we should not be doing that. Maybe we need to look at this. It's wrong. She's won awards like the DuPont Award, the NAACP Image Award. She has won numerous awards over the years for her journalism. She recently left WNYC radio. She quit. She has many other opportunities. One of the big opportunities that she left for is to write a book that's been in the works for many months. And she's here today because she could speak openly since leaving WNYC about the things that she believes are wrong. You heard some allegations from others. This is her opportunity to talk about her experience and the allegations that she plans to bring in suit at this courthouse in Lower Manhattan, in federal court. Without further ado, Jami Floyd.
Good morning, and I want to thank all of you who are here for your interest in what I have to say today, and those who are watching on Facebook Live and who will watch this statement elsewhere. As you've just heard, my name is Jami Floyd, and until yesterday, I was the leader of New York Public Radio's Race and Justice Unit, which I founded in 2020. Before that, I was the host of All Things Considered here in New York City. I'm standing in front of the federal courthouse because I plan to file suit against WNYC, New York Public Radio, for race discrimination, gender discrimination, age discrimination, retaliatory workplace harassment, defamation, and violation of my civil rights. We are right around the corner from the Thurgood Marshall courthouse. As many people know, he is my lifelong hero. He was a freedom fighter. Long before he was a Supreme Court justice, he risked his life to ensure that this country would live up to its constitutional promise. Inspired by Justice Marshall, that has been my work as an attorney and journalist, to speak truth to the powers that be about race, racism, and equality of opportunity for everyone. And that is what I am going to do here today. For years, Black and brown people in general, and Black women specifically, have had their careers derailed at New York Public Radio. Most famously, Suki Kim published her story about John Hockenberry's abuse of his co-hosts, my friends, all Black women, in 2017. The company made a lot of noise about changing its ways. But I am here to tell you the culture has not been transformed, especially not when it comes to its Black employees. Let's talk about the ways we treat each other at WNYC, specifically how WNYC treats its people. John Hockenberry was not the only bully in that building. We are 5 years into the Me Too movement. Yet, at WNYC, we still have bullies in the building. I know this from personal experience. They bullied me, harassed me, hazed me from the day I walked through the door in 2015. I am tough. What does that say for the people who aren't as tough as I am? Bullies remain comfortably employed in the organization to this very day. I tried to discuss the bullying, hazing, and derailing of my career with management, but repeatedly hit a brick wall. I complained about it to my colleagues, my superiors, to HR. I filed complaints. They went unheeded. My dear departed friend and colleague, Richard Hake, also felt bullied, and we talked about it on the regular, at least once a week. Now he is dead. He is 51 years old when he died. He felt under siege. We talked about our mutual feelings of responsibility for the organization and the people who were counting on us to lead the way. As a black woman, and in the tradition of the other black women bullied out of the organization, I felt I had to make it right. And so I stayed, even after Richard died, even though I still felt under siege. We have had other recent allegations of serious sexual harassment that I have brought to management's attention. I am tough, but I am not going to walk away from this company without speaking out. What happens in our business, people often want to keep working in this industry, so they keep quiet. But I'm not going to do that, not this time. I'm not the first black woman who was victimized at New York Public Radio, but I am determined to be the last black woman who cannot have a long and successful career at New York Public Radio. I've mentored too many young people to not stand up and speak out for them if they cannot speak out for themselves. That is why I have not signed a separation agreement that they offered that contained a confidentiality provision, and I've left the money on the table that came with it. I can name countless black and brown people, and women too, that have left the organization so painfully damaged, so scarred, that they have needed therapy to get through to the other side. Here is one example, just one, from a dear friend, a black man who says he cannot speak with me anymore. Quote, "Hey Jami," he writes, "thanks again for reaching out, and apologies for my silence, radical candor, my untethering from your current workplace was dramatic and difficult and quite stressful. The mental health professional in my life has wisely advised me to create honor and serious distance between my now and my then, to heal and focus on starting anew. Nothing personal. Glad you're well." This was my friend, someone I loved. This place destroyed our friendship. This place destroys relationships. It destroys people. Another colleague, a black woman, wrote me this, quote, "Hi, Jami, nice to hear from you. My time at WNYC was easily the worst 5 years of my career. I really don't want to revisit it, even off the record. Thank you so much for reaching out, but I cannot dredge up these painful memories. My friends and colleagues are too damaged and too afraid to speak out, but I am not. Let me be clear. We are not talking about imagined slights. We are talking about specific, alleged, offensive, and hostile acts that resulted and result in an adverse environment that black and brown people are expected to simply brush off. But we cannot brush it off. It is permanently damaging, emotionally, psychologically, and of course, professionally. It is time to talk publicly about the problems WNYC, New York Public Radio, has with its people. We need to talk about their problems with retention, their problems with recruitment, their problems with race. 2 years ago, in the wake of George Floyd's murder, I launched a race and justice unit. I had been fighting for the unit for years. Finally, under the glare of racial reckoning and that spotlight of George Floyd's murder, the station gave it a green light. But that is all they gave it. They didn't give me a budget. They didn't give me reporters. Not really. The reporters assigned to me were reporters who came from other desks, unhappy with their other editors and their other assignments. And worst of all, despite asking, begging, demanding, we still have no black reporters in the Race and Justice Unit. In fact, we have no black reporters anywhere in the WNYC newsroom. That is what I said. Not a single black reporter in the WNYC newsroom. None. Zero. Not one black reporter in the nation's leading newsroom in New York City, a majority black and brown city. Our numbers of Latino reporters are nearly as discouraging for a public media station that claims to pride itself on reporting on a multicultural city and region. I grew up just 5 blocks that way on the Lower East Side, listening to WNYC. I still believe there are some good people at WNYC trying to do good work, but they are hampered by a culture and a system that isn't working for them. It is toxic. It is full of fear. It is a culture that is sacrificing good journalism for pressure cooker hours and talk of metabolism over audio journalism passion that once made the place great. But missing most of all is a commitment to people, humanity, and a diverse newsroom that looks like the city that we are supposed to be representing. We pretend to have it, but we don't. Just like the NFL, we have a Rooney Rule at WNYC. We interview diverse candidates, but we don't hire them. We say we want black reporters, but where are they? Don't tell me they don't exist, because I know them. I've recruited them. We just haven't hired them. They're not in our newsroom. Why not? I've been agitating around these issues for 2 years, and in fact, my entire time at WNYC, taking my concerns as high as the Board of Trustees. There are those in the ranks who are unhappy to hear my saber rattling, and that is why we're really here. The people worried about their jobs brought us here. The layoffs we recently had nothing to do with making room for black and brown people. Hear me clearly. Their anger is misplaced, but my focus is unwavering. So now I'm going to be turning to the story of my hero, Thurgood Marshall. Returning to the ways that we change the structures of oppression, the ways we make real change. We need to remain focused. So in the spirit of Justice Marshall, who used the law as an instrument for social change, I am going to be working with a prominent civil rights firm about the ways in which patterns in public media, not just at WNYC, of discrimination and practice against black people and black women writ large are working against journalism and listeners and readers and watchers of public media. After George Floyd's murder, a working group of which I was a part delivered an anti-racist plan for the transformation of public media. You can find it on current.org. But CEOs and boards are not listening. So perhaps public media needs to be brought to court to understand that equality of opportunity is more than a promise, it's a requirement of the law. Finally, Toni Morrison brilliantly wrote, the function, the very serious function of racism is distraction. It keeps you from doing your work. It keeps you explaining over and over again your reason for being. Toni Morrison was so right. So I'm getting away from this distraction. I'm getting on with my work, and I'm letting my lawyers get on with theirs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jami. To Jami's left is one of her civil rights attorneys, Kurt Flagler. My name is Mike Paul. I'm her spokesman. Let me say a little bit more about what Jami was just speaking of. She talked about the newsroom. She talked about no black people currently in the newsroom of any kind. Reporters, journalists. This is a city that's almost 3/4 people of color. 3/4. Think of that. To have no reporters currently in the newsroom of any kind is an abomination. But worse, the treatment that Jami personally described that she went through is absolutely worthy of a plan for a lawsuit. And that's what the focus is today.